working day in Ukraine Crisis Media Center from the information from the ATO zone. I would like to say that we may have additional briefings with the candidates to the positions of the ministers. The candidates who are foreign citizens, please follow information on our website and on the Facebook page.
National Security and Defense Council Information Center spokesman. Also, please follow our schedule on our Facebook page because we may add a few extra briefings today. Дякую.
Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. Today at 7 o'clock in the morning in Donetsk direction, our Ukrainian servicemen successfully repelled another attack of Donetsk airport. The enemy suffered serious losses from the actions of Ukrainian artillery. The terrorists were shelling the positions of ATO's forces from artillery and mortars near Piski, Tonenke, Avdiivka, Slavno-Nevelske. From Grad systems and mortars, the militants 4 times attacked the strongholds near the settlement Novobakhmutivka. In Lugansk direction, near Stanitsa Luganska, another attack on the stronghold of Ukrainian servicemen was repelled. At the same direction, the positions of our servicemen near settlements Shastya were twice shelled by the militants from Grad systems and twice from artillery and mortars. Also, 4 times the stronghold near Makarovo Stanично-Lugansky district was shelled from Grad systems. Along Bakhmutivsky road, the terrorists were shelling the positions near Sokolniki and Donetsk. In the Baltsevsky direction, the positions of ATO were shelled from mortars and small arms near Nikishin and Debaltseva. Near Gorlivka, from the Grad systems, was shelled the checkpoint near Mayorsk, and from mortars the stronghold near Artemova. In Mariupolsky direction, the fire was our military were shelled near Mykolaiv and Petrivska. During the last 24 hours, the illegal armed groups 52 times shelled and attacked the ATO forces, and the result, 2 Ukrainian servicemen were killed and 4 were wounded. There were no clashes on the border. At the same time, the air reconnaissance was registered. The armed forces, yesterday at 5:15, the border guards near Semenivka registered the drone that flew from the territory of Russia to Ukraine, was shelled by the bodyguards and had to return to the territory of Russian Federation. Yesterday in social network was downloaded the video from Donetsk where you can see how militants are shelling from Grad systems and the Grad systems are located near the district Cherokee. This district is on the outskirts of Donetsk, and it's to the southeast on the opposite from the airport side of the city. Also, we do not exclude that terrorists hiding the Grads in this district were shelling without targeting, so that later discredit the ATO forces. The video is dated the 1st of December 2014.
Где-то там.
Ми дуже вдячні.
We're grateful to citizens of Donetsk for the initiative and for assistance to explain even to Russians who in reality is shelling the residential areas of Donetsk. And we see that these houses are not Pisky and not Avdiivka. In Kharkiv that night at around 2 o'clock in the morning, there was a powerful explosion. The gate to the military unit in the street of Academician Proskura were blown off. There were no people, no victims. The criminal case has been filed. The settlements Sokolniki, Кримський, Донецька, Трьохізбінка, Станиця Луганська, Ташківка, Новотошівка, Мирна Долина were shelled from heavy artillery and great systems yesterday. The infrastructure was seriously destroyed, as well as administrative buildings and household sector. The most difficult situation, as before, is in Stanitsa Luganska. The settlement was shelled from heavy artillery and mortars. And the result of the shellings in Stanitsa Luganska, 2 pensioners were killed. Also, the gas pipeline was destroyed, and now part of Stanitsa and also settlements Вільхове Болото and Малиново-Вільхівське are without light. The village Kalinovo-Борщувата and Novoalexandrivka of Popasnyatsky district are without electricity, and Tryokhizbinka of Novaidarsky district and Chernugina of Popasnyansky region are without gas now. Maloarlivka of Shakhtarsky district, Piskiv, Vesele, Spartakov, Yasunovansky district, Marinka, Krasnogorivka of Marinsky district, and Druzhba of Dzerzhinsky city council also left without gas supply in the result of the shellings by terrorists in Donetsk region. At the same time, in the liberated territories of Donetsk region, the electricity is renewed in 101 settlements, and at 8 facilities electric, and at 63 heat supply. The systems of gas supply are repaired in 4 settlements. 1,106 gas pipelines are renewed, and 3,234 private houses are connected to gas supply. As of the 1st of December 2014, according to the Interagency Coordination Headquarters, we have 51,157 IDPs accommodated, and these are IDPs from Donbass and Crimea. The 129,777 families were registered to get the assistance to pay for their housing. Now more than 50,000 families already received this monetary assistance. The President Poroshenko and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel discussed the situation in Donbass and the issue of humanitarian assistance and energy supply. Also, they stressed about the necessity of executing Minsk agreements. Also, yesterday, President Poroshenko and President of European Investment Bank Werner Hoyer during the meeting discussed the situation with the joint projects which are implemented in Ukraine with the support of European Investment Bank. The President suggested to consider the possibility of financial and humanitarian support of Donetsk and Lugansk region that suffered from actions of the militants. To receive such support by the end of the year is extremely important for Ukraine, said Ms. Poroshenko. The head of the state invited the President of European Investment Bank to participate in donor conference for Ukraine, which is planned to be held in the first quarter of 2015. The new President of European Council, Donald Tusk, and the President of US, Barack Obama, called upon Russia to withdraw their troops from the eastern Ukraine. We shared our concerns as to the crisis of Ukraine and agreed on how it is important for Russia to withdraw from the east of Ukraine, stop supplies of troops and equipment. and allow efficient control over the border, mentioned Donald Tusk. The General Secretary of UN and Stoltenberg, before the meeting of the heads of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the countries members of Alliance in Brussels, stated that NATO will not provide to Russia any guarantees as to non-joining the military bloc by Ukraine and Georgia. Any questions?
Oksana Shcherbina, 1+1 TV channel. Would you please describe more about drones, Russian drones, which have crossed the border in Chernigiv Oblast? Is it true that border guards did not manage to shell them down? You mentioned that they went back to the Russian Federation, whether there will be any response from official response from the National Security and Defense Council. Yesterday, the border guard patrol registered crossing of the border, which was made by a Russian drone at the altitude of 1,000 meters, and it went back to the territory of Ukraine by 1 kilometer. Then it was shelled by Ukrainian forces, and it turned back to Russian Federation. That's it. No response, no official statements made by state NSDC. We register all such cases and provide this information to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And at the same time, our border guards has a possibility to request explanations from Russian Federation. Also, there was an information that an agreement was made about ceasefire around Donetsk airport. Whether you heard about, whether you know about these negotiations, and was the result of these negotiations, whether an agreement on ceasefire was really agreed, and who is that General Alexander Lentsov on Russian party, and what is his mandate? General Lentsov is a representative of one of the generals of Russian armed forces, and we have Ukrainian representative, Lieutenant General Askarov, who have a mandate to hold consultations and negotiations between the parties about ceasefire. Since Ukrainian party has been implementing consistently Minsk agreements, we expect that the opposite party also will commit with it will stick with its commitments, and we will continue our policy to open fire only in response of the open fire. As far as I understand, yesterday there was the first round of these negotiations, and our objective is to reach mutual consensus, which will be coordinated with all the parties. On Ukrainian party, we are sure that this could be done. As soon as the militants agree with this, we will proceed with the Minsk commitments. That is, we will step back from the delineation line, and we will have 15-kilometer neutral zone. Our intention is to reach positive outcome. And as soon as we have any information about positive result, we will immediately inform you. So we cannot say that yesterday some sort of negotiations, some result of negotiations was reached. After 52 shellings, which happened during the last 24 hours, we cannot say that there is a ceasefire in place. Thank you very much that you follow up this situation and that you share this information with your Russian colleagues, because your Russian colleagues do not understand the situation. Although the shellings continue, nevertheless, the negotiations also continue, and we expect that they will reach the result. Could you say more about General Lysenko? Since he is not a general of Ukrainian forces, he is Russian general, I cannot provide any information about him, about the specific place. I also can say nothing. Will it happen in the territory of Ukraine or in the territory of Russia? I cannot tell you. Once again, there is translation. Please use microphone. During the last day, there was an intensive shelling of Donetsk airport. It was physically impossible to have negotiation there. Vikna STB show. Whether this General Lysenko was appointed as a representative after Minsk agreements, as far as I read them, remember, he is deputy head of the infantry forces of Russian Federation. This is his official position, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you very much. In Luhansk settlement, Bryanka, as of today, there are 70 people who died because of starving, deadly starving, and now there is more and more information emerging that people die because of starvation. We do not know about this settlement. We will check your information. Whether you have any facts that people die because of starvation. All humanitarian aid, which we try to send to the occupied territories occupied by militants, unfortunately, all these cargoes are stopped by militants, and they simply stole it. Unfortunately, we did many attempts, and all of them were unsuccessful. Now, when there is cold weather outdoors, when there is no heating, no electricity, and no food supplies, we try to continue negotiations. I read that militants had changed their military tactics. They opened fire directly from the residential houses, and when they expect that Ukrainian troops will respond to this attack, to open fire, they bring people in the yard of this residential house and thus prevent the response attack. You actually have described these new tactics, the tactic of using people as a live shield, and this prevents us from efficient repelling fire from our side. Unfortunately, in response to those 52 shellings which I mentioned during last day, our artillery responded only 25 times because of this fact which you mentioned. Yesterday, there was the conference of OSCE organization and with LNR, and they say that next day, some day later, there will be a ceasefire established with Eleanor, whether you heard about this and what will happen with the DNR. We heard many times about the silent regime, so-called. Whether you expect to have this. If it is planned to start real ceasefire on December 5th, then I wish to have December 5th today. Yesterday, there was a downloaded an information in the internet showing the weapons, ammunition, which was brought to Ukraine in course of the 7th convoy. Did you see it, and how you will comment? Of course, this counteracts with Ukrainian legislation, and this fact of violation of Ukrainian legislation and international legislation, it is registered. We keep registering all this all the time. And who is responsible for registering? We have special services which have special mandate for registering these facts, and they collect all the evidences, and they are ready to provide all this information to the international jurisprudence bodies. And